and it will get you in trouble as well. Number 19, anonymous question. Why does Jeremiah 46:25 and Jeremiah 51:44 make it seem like there are multiple gods? How can God punish a God that doesn't exist? Very interesting question. Does Jeremiah 46:25 and 51:44 make it seem like there are multiple gods? Let's just read these verses together. The Lord of hosts, the God of Israel says, behold, I will bring punishment on Ammon of No and Pharaoh and Egypt with their gods and their kings, Pharaoh and those who trust in him. Okay, so God is bringing punishment, right? He's bringing punishment upon them. Ammon is a sun god. He's bringing punishment on a sun god. I mean, this isn't just saying there's some spiritual powerful being out there. It calls out Ammon by name. Should we take that to mean that Ammon is a real existing, just a second, God? Verse 44 of Jeremiah 51, the other verse you mentioned, it says, I will punish Bel in Babylon. I will bring out of his mouth what he has swallowed, and the nations shall not stream to him anymore. Yes, the wall of Babylon shall fall. So he's going to punish Bel in Babylon. How do we view this? Like, is this affirming the literal existence of Bel, and not only the existence of Bel, but or the existence of a spiritual being, like a demon behind Bel, or an angelic power, a fallen angel, kind of like behind these things, which I'd be fine affirming that behind Bel is some, but this is more explicit because it's like it's Bel. So does that affirm the identity of these false gods, that they're not really false gods, they're real gods, and God's just better than them? I think that the answer is that Jeremiah is speaking poetically. I think he's saying, I'm going to punish Bel because in the environment they're in, Babylon, Assyria, these different nations, they not only fight battles and take captives, they think that the power to fight these battles comes from these gods, these false gods. So God is proclaiming judgment against them and their gods. I'm gonna punish them. I'm gonna show them. Now, also in Scripture, in Jeremiah, in Isaiah, like if you read Isaiah 40 and you read all the chapters around Isaiah 40, you'll see there's a whole section of Scripture devoted to the idea that there's only one God, and these other gods are simply, they don't exist. So I think that if we're going to take all of Scripture, you would either have to posit a contradiction, or you'd have to accept that this is speaking poetically because these people worship Bel, and God's like, I'm going to show them. So let me give you a picture example of this from the Philistines. So we read about this in the Old Testament where the Philistines, they took the Ark of the Covenant and they captured it. Oops. This is because of the bad leadership of Saul, ultimately. They captured the Ark of the Covenant and they place it into their temple to Dagon. Dagon's like this fish-headed god. And they go in to see Dagon, if I'm remembering all the details correctly. And the next morning, Dagon's statue has like fallen over. And so then they prop it up. Now you could say God's judging Dagon. Like, I would be okay with that terminology. God's judging Dagon. But does that mean then, so Dagon's real? So Dagon's real? Like there's a real Dagon? Like, who is all the things that their mythology says he is? I'm like, no, I don't think that's the case. But you could say he's judging Dagon. Now they go back later the next day and he's dropped again, and it's like his arms fell off or something, right? Like it keeps getting worse every time something worse happens and then the Philistines get various medical issues. And then they're like, all right, let's just get this ark out of here, because God, the God of the Israelites, Yahweh, he's clearly more powerful than whatever we're worshiping. All right, we don't, when we beat the Philistines beat the Israelites, we didn't see the victory of our God over their God. No. We beat them, but nothing can beat their God. That's the lesson that they're getting. And I think that's the same kind of thing here. So I don't think that Jeremiah does that. I think that if you just pull it out of context, you might think that. But it just seems like this is all very poetic language that's being spoken of here. And it's being said in a way for it to make clear that God is bringing judgment not only on the nation for their wickedness, but also on the God that they worship. So this is God. This is meant to be a challenge, not an affirmation of that God.